Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. This podcast focuses on the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. Now let's get ready to dig in and crush it. Hey everyone, this week I have special guests Patrick and Jeff, who co-host the podcast that I was on a couple weeks ago, which is called Becoming Entrefied. They are amazing and super fun to talk with. So I thought it would be great to also have them on the Crush It in Sales podcast, because I never got to hear about their journey in regards to building relationships and connecting and how they became co-hosts and are hosting this podcast together. So I will kick it off to you guys, whoever wants to start, Patrick or Jeff, and share a little bit about yourselves and your journey with your podcast.
Patrick, you want to go first? Or you want me to?
I can go.
Well, I tell you what, we can. How far back do you want to go when we first met?
Whatever makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I tell you what, I had some experiences in different businesses, and we was actually working together at an IT, actually at a school system, and we was providing IT work. But before that, I had been in different businesses, run my own business, run an internet service, had several domain names, several websites, had a classified website, had a dealership in regards to selling kids' clothes, and I was into AdSense, AdWords. I was into all kinds of different things like that as far as online. And at the time, I had done just a little bit of different things. My dad, he was an electrician, so I worked with him some. I provided some customer service and sales for a company called Live Ops, if anybody's ever dealt with them. But that's actually, I really enjoyed the company. I said that like it was bad. It wasn't bad. It was a really good thing. But if you've ever had any relationship with them, then you know a little bit about what they do. But actually awesome experience. But I just kind of got a range of different experiences. But when I started working for this company doing IT work, which I actually had my business and got an opportunity to go work for the school system. So I went ahead and done that. Really good experience. So I met Patrick. Patrick come in one day, and Patrick can tell you a little bit more about the what happened there. But I believe, Patrick, wasn't it an internship? Is that correct?
Yeah, it was through college. Yeah.
Okay. And so we got started. The first time I met him, I just seen this guy that was well dressed. Which I'll be honest with you guys, it may be a bad thing that I do, but I have a tendency to size people up, whether it's right or wrong. I do. And my first impression of Patrick was that he was a really smart guy, because I listened to him a little bit. He was talking with my boss at the time, and but he didn't say a whole lot, but he wasn't really quiet either. He was just that perfect amount. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. He's not controlling the conversation, but he's not saying nothing either. So I immediately thought he was a really intelligent guy. And when we got to know each other a little bit more, and Patrick, jump in anytime. I'm the big mouth out of two of us, so you'll have to just jump in. But we started working together in the tech field. And like I said, I seen a very intelligent guy, and fresh out of college. He reminded me a lot of myself when I was younger and things like that. And but we worked really well together, and which I had the background in business. And I don't know, Patrick, was you operating a business at that time on the side or anything like that?
I think I was just doing like a blog, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try to do affiliate marketing. And I don't know how I found it, but I found it.
Well, certain mindsets, I think was really, our mindsets was kind of just almost just in line. It's just weird. It was like I was looking at an earlier version of myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But from that point, and again, y'all stop me anytime you want, but from that point, basically, we had a really good relationship. And we never did have really a riff, and that used to just blow my mind, because it's like from the standpoint of being able to talk to somebody, which I'm one of these people now that if I don't like something, I'll just come talk to you. I'll just be like, I don't like this, or what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. And Patrick was always, just like, oh, okay, and then if there was something that he seen, I tried to be responsive to that as well. So it was kind of a weird relationship in that respect, because that's something that I never really associated that with people that was younger. And I know that sounds bad, but it's more experienced people that kind of learn. You only know what you know. And if you learn to listen to other people, you can get a lot from them. But that's not generally something that I associate with somebody that age. So I was really surprised at that. He turns out to be that guy. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a put on or anything like that. He turns out to be that way. But that's basically how we got started. Was we met in the tech field. Maybe he can tell you about his first impression of me. Patrick, would you like to share that?
Yeah, sure. So I just remember I was I think I was talking about the drums a lot and just how that works. And, not to get too far in the weeds, but we started kind of hanging out, and then he started talking with me about his businesses and how he, created them and different things, and how he, had a different experience. And I was just really interested in the prospect of making obviously more income when you're younger, and at the same time gaining my time back, because I like free time a lot. And so when I met Jeff, I was like, oh man, he looks really smart guy, really he's really like extroverted, great talker, great person, and I felt like opposite of me, and he had a lot of skills I didn't. I was like, I could learn a lot from this person. And so we started, we would hang out and talk, and like he said, he had a lot of great ideas, a lot of great thoughts, a lot of great things I could take from him. And and then fast forward a couple of years to now, maybe like 5 years ago?
Probably.
Yeah, we eventually left that place after like 2 years working together, and but we never lost contact. We stayed in touch. We kept the networking going and stuff. And then I don't remember when it was, maybe a year ago, we started doing like these calls. So we would just call each other every Monday. We would say, hey, I'm going to call you Monday, talk with you about investing and, different things going on as far as what you're investing in, what what kind of opportunities you're seeing. And after like a good couple months of consistently doing it every Monday, we actually got a guy. He called in one day, and we talked for a solid hour about real estate and cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, and it was really great. And I was like, man, Jeff, I think that we have some really great talking points, really great topics here. Why are we just letting this go to waste? Like, this could help somebody else. We're talking about investing, business, ROIs. What kind of ROI can you expect from this investment? 12%, is that good? Is that bad? And these are questions that people have when they're investing. And so I was like, let's record this and put it up on a podcast or something, get more organization. And so that's really how we started the podcast.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. I did not know that at all. And I just think that's such a cool way to have evolved your own little mini mastermind, I would say, that you guys had like a mini mastermind going between the two of you. That's really awesome.
I think it's important to realize one thing though, between the two of us is like going through this, whether it was me or whether it was Patrick, being able to see what the good idea was, because that's one thing I think is super important, is making sure that I'm not the only person. I think I'm right all the time. You know what I mean? I can look at Patrick and say, hey, Patrick, you know what? You got a better idea. And I think that's so important to growth in regards to business or for anything, is to be able to say, look at somebody that's younger and say, hey, you know what? You was thinking that you're looking at that better. And to be able to be honest with yourself and do that, and vice versa, being able to look at somebody that's older, that's done some things that maybe you haven't, and say, hey, you got this experience, or yeah, I kind of like that idea. But being open to look at things differently and being honest, because I really don't get offended if Patrick, he gets to the point where he's like, man, he's so much further along in certain areas than I am. You know what I mean? If he gets to that point, or he may be in a lot of areas. But what I'm trying to say is it's a collaborative thing. And I'm looking at it as, being able to work with somebody that has the same mindset. But it's really, to me, it's not a competition thing. And I don't think it is for him. What is kind of weird about that is, here lately, I actually brought this up and I said, Patrick, it's kind of weird that we don't never really have much of a riff, and I know that kind of looks like you're looking for trouble, but I said, what we need to do is we need to start critiquing one another and say, hey, I don't think you did that right, or I think you did this right, and vice versa, because our relationship will be stronger because of that, but it'll also give you that different perspective, and also it pushes you, and it shows you that you can grow through, having another person that you can kind of run ideas off of, but they're looking and they're trying to build you up. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, definitely. I wrote down so many things when you guys were talking. I wrote down teamwork, that I could tell that you guys are a great team. I wrote down mindset. I wrote down collaborative. I wrote down that Patrick's not defensive and you aren't either, which is amazing, or competitive. First impressions, that you guys took your time building a relationship and probably didn't have expectations right off the bat, which is super important. And then, about bouncing ideas. That's amazing. Patrick, where would you say this stems from? Because you, even before Jeff got on the call, when we were waiting, you were even talking about how you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when you were 20 years old, which I think is amazing. Where'd you say this stemmed from on your end?
Well, I guess you could say when I was growing up, my grandpa, he was a painter, and he owned his own company painting people's houses, and he did it for about 40 years, a lot of painting, construction. And I don't know, just when I was growing up, I was not in the best conditions, and I was oftentimes living with my grandparents and parents at the same time. And there was a lot of chaos. And so it really taught me to get in the eye of the storm. There's a hurricane going on. You got to get in the middle, and you got to be calm, and you got to watch and see where the storm is hitting, and you got to avoid those areas. So really, it's kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he goes to the gym, he lifts in the muscles he doesn't use as much, because the muscles he always uses are already getting that workout. So when they say that your weakest link is you need to fix your weakest link, you don't need to focus on your strongest ones, because if you do, that weakest one's still going to break. And so I just noticed coming up that if I watch people make mistakes and, mess up a lot, that if I could figure out how to not make those mistakes and focus on not messing up, then I could avoid a lot of issues. And so really that was just weird. I mean, when I was 18, I joined the Army. And so I went to the Army basic training, and, I learned a lot of stuff there, and, really same principles I set in the chaos. And I learned to, kind of watch and see what not to do. And when I came out of there, I was just, it's kind of a funny story, but for a year of my life, I just sat in a room and I played video games and I waited on college. I didn't know what to do. And so I didn't really know what to do. And I thought to myself, I said, what if I do the same thing everybody else does, I'm going to get the same results everybody else does. And a lot of people aren't happy. And so I just had a lot of insight and foresight to see what not to do. And I just watched their lives. And I don't want to be in a spot where it's predictable. I don't want to be that guy who goes to college, gets a job, retires at 40, has a white picket fence house. Like, there's no point in me living if I can predict the future of what's going to happen. And that was depressing to me. So I don't know how I found the book. I think I was talking to a friend of mine and he recommended it, and I like to read. So I just picked the book up and started reading it, and it just made a lot of sense. And it was really obvious stuff. And it was just like, this is so simple that it's perfect, because I feel like, oftentimes in life, the simple things are the answer. It's the simple things that are the real complex answers that you need. And I don't know if that really answers it, but I couldn't really say there was one clear-cut defining reason why. It was kind of, multiple things that came together and corroborated towards that decision, if that makes any sense, Melinda.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I do feel like our lives are, a series of patchworks, or however you want to put it. And then you end up piecing it together over time, and you just continue to learn and grow. And it's so great that you guys met each other and, had the same mindset to, work together and build a relationship and keep that going for the past 5-6 years. That's really cool. So tell me a little bit about just some of the things you've learned on your podcast and how you've incorporated that between the two of you. I know you have a lot of episodes already, 121, which is fabulous. So you guys must be really busy. So give me some scoop on how that's been.
Well, from my perspective, one of the things that I've learned is to keep moving forward. You don't always have to have the perfect vision. You may not even know exactly what the vision is. You sense that this is the direction that you need to head, and you take that next step. I would like to tell you that I come up with that advice, but it's not true. I mean, a lot of people has heard that before. I don't know who originated that, but basically it comes down to the point of taking that next step. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're making forward progressive movements, you're going to run right into where you're supposed to be most of the time. And that's one of the things that's I won't say that I've learned. Actually, I did say that. I'd say it's been reinforced. That's something I think that I discovered at some point in my life. And this process with Entrefied has just reinforced that. And I think that's really good, probably. And if I'd pat myself on the back, and I'm not trying to do that, guys, but as far as a piece of information that I would give almost anybody, that would be probably some really good information. Is you don't always have to have the answers, but know what the next step is and take that step. So, that's the thing is if it's good for you and it's good for you, don't get to the point where you're just asking yourself, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. If you know that next step is good for you, then why aren't you taking it? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. As far as the show, it's just been a good experience, because anytime that you can put yourself in a situation where you have other perspectives that has went through things, positive things and negative things, and they've learned and they've grown. I mean, you can't help but get something positive off of that if you're putting yourself in an atmosphere of growth. In other words, an atmosphere of learning, of an experience, and people that's willing to say, hey, this is where I messed up. I used to go around and ask people, and I've done this a lot, and I guess they probably thought it was weird. I'd look for the people that was about to retire, and I would ask them this question. Well, you're about to retire. Yeah, I'm about to retire. And I would say, well, let me ask you. I said, what is one thing now, looking back, you wished you would have done? And I ask them that. And sometimes if I have a strong enough relationship and have built that relationship up and feel comfortable, I'll even ask them, what mistakes they made.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really tough to have that relationship. But one more thing, is just make sure you're open to growth, because a lot of people are overlooking it. And I'm not trying to say that I've arrived, because I haven't. But a lot of times the things that would take you to that next level are in the same room as you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking for something else. You're looking for that next great thing. And those people that are closest to you right now, that, you can learn from, you can grow from, and it's the relationships that you build along the way. I mean, and one of the things with Patrick is, like I said, he's a super smart guy. But really, on this Entrefied, I think Entrefied will wind up being a great thing, I think. But ultimately, I hope in the future that he will be taking the lead on that, because I'm older, you know what I'm saying? And if nature takes its course, I want to make sure, and I feel like it will be, I feel like that he will have the opportunity to take this to the next level, even when I'm not here, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but you're not going anywhere tomorrow, but that's very cool.
Well, I hope not. But I'm looking at, I'm always looking.
Jeff, so.
Right. I'm always looking at 20 years in the future. And that's one thing that's probably good and bad, because if you always do that, you sometimes miss out on the moments of now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Patrick, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, oh, geez. I would say, what Jeff said is, you got to keep going, because if you don't, you'll have paralysis analysis. You'll freeze up, deer in the headlights. And, there's a funny thing. I don't remember what kind of cow it is, but there's a cow, whenever it starts raining, if you see rain coming and you just stand in the rain and you start to run with the rain, you're just going to be in it longer. But I don't remember what kind of cow it is or whatever, but they sense the rain and they'll actually run to the storm instead of away from it. So that way, when you're running against a storm, it'll be over quicker. And, so there's going to be a lot of things that suck when you do anything, when you make a business, when you, make investments, whatever. There's always that, really hard learning curve that starts out. Or if you're doing due diligence and you're going to, buy somebody's business or podcast. I mean, it's a lot of work up front. But then, you get through the storm quicker, you get through the hard parts quicker. And then that way you can kind of coast more, and you can take it, a lot easier when you have a good process, because when you're first starting out, you don't know what to use, what software to use, what, anything, how many days a week, what days a week. I mean, there's a lot of questions when you're doing anything. And I'm just using podcasts as an example. And so you just kind of go through and you kind of stumble, and you make a lot of mistakes. And kind of what I alluded to earlier is, if you learn from the mistakes and you just, focus on not making those anymore, you'll progress. And because what it is, you're finding new mistakes. So, it's kind of like you're in a ship and you're finding holes in the ship's hull. You're just patching those or fixing those. And that way you can find more. But if you're constantly focused on keeping your ship straight and you're not paying attention to all the holes popping up, you're going to sink. So, I can't emphasize enough that, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being great. It's just about keeping it going and keeping it going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you both. Wow, that's incredible business and life advice. And in my opinion, both of those go hand in hand always. You take one along with the other. And I really appreciate you both sharing so much. Thank you. That's awesome. So how can the audience get in touch with you guys? Give them some scoops so they can reach out and listen to your podcast as well.
Yeah, sure. I think, Jeff, you said you had one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just had one more thing. That's to build off of people's strengths. I'm fixing to have to go. I've got to get back at it. But this was such an important podcast to be on, because there was such a connection when we was on the podcast, all of us together. And I definitely didn't want to miss this. But, I will have to step out here in just a moment. But I did want to bring that up is when you're in a business, have people that have strengths and recognizing that and playing to that. And it just makes such a difference. And if you can realize what that other person's strengths is, it's very important. And obviously Patrick has strengths and I hope I have some, but what we try to do is we try to work in unison in our area and kind of come together in the middle somewhere. And I just wanted to say that, and I'll need to step out here, but Patrick, I'm sure will take you home. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you guys, and reach out to us. And it's been wonderful to be on your podcast, Melinda.
Oh, Jeff, you are awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today, and Patrick, of course. And like you said, we just had such a fun time, such great conversation on yours. So I was glad to hear that you guys wanted to be on mine too. So I thought that was cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
But where to find us? You could just go to, anything, Apple, iTunes, Google, wherever, and just look up Becoming Entrefied, ENTREFIED. And we kind of made that word up. And we made it to mean to us, coming into success. So you're entering in your success, and it kind of sounds like you're becoming an entrepreneur and you're all that. So, and so just find us on Becoming Entrefied on the Play Store or wherever. And the website, we got a website, entrefied.com. If you want to be on the show, you can fill out a form and you can get in touch with us. We have a calendar. We'll work with you too. And also, last thing is I got, Facebook, Patrick Hughes 9000. You just go find my page. I post, new episodes, updates, and all that stuff for you guys to check and listen to and all that. And, like Melinda said, we have a lot of episodes. We like to talk a lot. So that's how that happened.
That's awesome. I love it. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate your time and all your wisdom. And it's been fun getting to know you a little bit more too. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was great.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you liked the podcast. It was really fun for me to chat again with Patrick Hughes and Jeff Higdon from the Becoming Entrefied podcast. If you are curious about their podcast, the episode that I'm on is 117, and they asked me some great questions. It was fun sharing more of my journey, my husband and I's journey down here in the Keys, and also they ask a lot of great sales questions. So we did a deep dive on their podcast as well. If you like this podcast, I always appreciate when you share with a friend, family member, or coworker. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. My Instagram is Melinda_Van Fleet. And if you get a second, would always love a rating and review on Apple. So till next time, I hope you crush it in sales. Thanks again for listening.